6, the sample presidential primary ballots are out. And despite the fact that there are only 2 prominent Republican candidates still in the race, the ballot you cast in March will have many more names. 11 Alive's Bobeth Yates has more on why there are so many names here and what voters need to know. Bobeth?
Well, Jennifer, the names on this sample ballot list all boils down to deadline and the fact that the candidates listed running for the presidential race in the Republican Party had to be submitted in November of last year. And at that time, there were 11 candidates running for president.
Officially, it's only Donald Trump and Governor Nikki Haley. And everyone else has suspended their campaign.
But last November, when the names of the Republican candidates running for president was submitted to the Secretary of State's office, that list was much longer. The Republican State Executive Committee submitted a list of 11 names to be on the primary ballot. And even though there's just 2 prominent candidates left in the race, all 11 will appear on the primary ballot in March.
Both parties have to submit the names well in advance of the actual primary, usually well in advance of voting starting.
Shepard says that's partly due to deadlines associated with absentee and overseas ballot requirements. But in this November 16th email to the state's Republican Party, a representative from the Secretary of State's office wrote, "We identified at least 2 candidates who've already announced their withdrawal from the presidential race. Please advise whether the names of the withdrawn candidates can be excluded." The letter went on to say that the more names that appear on the ballot, the greater the risk that the ballot will appear crowded and unclear to voters. In addition, it states the issue increases the likelihood that voters will mistakenly vote for a candidate who has withdrawn, leading to possible disenfranchisement of Republican voters. But that same day, the party replied they will be moving forward with the list voted on by our state executive committee. And while unlikely, Shepard adds the 9 candidates who left the race still have an option to come back.
They are still, in theory, in contention and can at any time unsuspend their campaign if there is an opportunity. My advice to any voters would be, whether it's the presidential preference primary or the general election, research the candidates, know what they stand for, know who's in, and make that informed decision.
Now, I also spoke to a political strategist who told me the more names on this ballot could be beneficial for Donald Trump. He says that the Donald Trump voters tend to be really loyal, which means the other candidates in the race will end up having to split the other voters. They also say some voters could just vote for someone who is not running out of protest.